evening and welcome. You are watching the Policy Times, India's, I think, the first media and only digital media promoting developmental journalism at a time when media is more often criticized, accused, and confused with what kind of content they should promote and do. I think today's session is exactly what Policy Time talks about and believes in. And we have two eminent journalists, Mr. Vikas Srivastav, a senior journalist and writer associated for 2 decades in many reputed Indian and international media. We also have Mr. Nirmal Mishra, who will be joining us soon. He's also a reputed journalist in many of the major dailies he worked, also credited for scripting award-winning movies. Maybe Dr. Shekhar will discuss later. I want to welcome Mr. Vikas for joining us for this very important session. Our chairman of the show is Dr. P. Shekhar, who is also an architect of the concept called secured governance, has written 80 books on different topics of connecting them with the national growth and national development. So the theme, the discussion point today is what is the role of media and journalism for nation building, national growth, national development, and national reincarnation. So we have rephrased the concept under the show that we do, Unleashing India web series, is national reincarnation. Why? Because COVID has divided the world of history into two eras, which Dr. Shekhar will brief again later: pre-COVID and post-COVID. Post-COVID is all about reincarnation, and I think we, as a vibrant and largest democracy of the world, media as fourth pillar of democracy needs to play a much more sensible, sensitive, accountable role in the entire developmental process. What role will it play? What role is it playing? What changes does it need to bring in? And what kind of do we need to have regulations in media? What kind of journalism are there in India? What kind of journalism is to be promoted in a nation like India? Different nation in different developmental phase or maturity or degree of democratic process, the role of journalism is different. So for a poor country, the role of media is extremely different from the role of a media in a very advanced and developed nation. However, the foundation will remain same, but somewhere media somehow will need to define a framework, how it does, and there are a lot of government media, private media. So we will discuss what role different media is playing and should play, can play in future. That's all that we will discuss in the entire show today. Without taking any more time, I want to welcome and request Dr. P. Shekhar to give an intro remark and start the session.
Thank you, Akram. Thanks to Vikas and Nirmal and the people who have been following it up for last. Now, today will be almost the 25th session. We have covered various sectors. We are covering more as things go. But media has got a very, very, very different role. Every sector is important, but media has got a different role. What is it that we call as different from media? What we are calling is enhanced role of media and journalists for national reincarnation. Now, when we say media, unlike other sectors, whatever we put in media, in all sectors, if you put X amount, we always say 10% it goes, 20% it goes, 30% it goes. If 30% it goes, means it is fantastic. Whereas in media, if you put any X amount of effort or money or any other way, it multiplies 10 times. If media is one thing, the care of the media is important. This is even before prehistoric days. Media is the one which in olden days people say somebody is dropping something. Ill news travel apace. Okay. Good news doesn't go. There's also another point which people say. When they say ill news travel apace, means if something negative happens, yes, it just goes into a space and gets multiplied. Now, the small slide, I'll not go into detail. India is a very vast country, 206 countries put together. We got land, water, which is not in any case today's topic. We'll directly go into COVID. Now, when we see these figures, when we say global COVID, 20 million people affected, 14 million, we feel, oh, 20 million is very, very big. But world has got more than 7 to 8 billion people. So 20 million is a small percentage. And even among this 20 million, almost 66% have come up. And in spite of that, there's a small percentage who have died. Yes, any death is not welcome. It should be taken care. So by any remotest chance, we are not saying that since the death is small, it should not be taken care. But things seem to get overblown. Things seem to get to put in such a way a small leg injury, a small scratch in the leg is being made to look like my heart is not working, my lung is not working, nothing is working. Now, this portion somewhere has to get a proper, remedial measure. Remedial measure doesn't mean not to put this. It should be positioned properly. When we say today also, when we put 20 million, we should say this is 20 million is spread over 5 months. Normal deaths is so and so. That portion is missing. Anyway, we are nobody to teach media, but I'm just putting some other facts and figures. Now, let us see some of the facts and figures about media, which is extremely good. Now, media means we say print media, broadcast media, internet media, and of course, as we saw, ill news, travel affairs media, which is human to human media, which is not computed. Now, about journalists in India, I will directly go into the global journalists and Indian journalists and what is the market size. Now, if you see the global market size is $299 billion. And in terms of broadcast, TV, and all this, again, another $400 billion, which is big. Now, we will go directly to India. Now, this I'll spend 1 or 2 more minutes on this. India has got 118,000 registered publications, newspapers 17,000, periodic 100,000, and there's overall there's a readership of 425 million in newspapers, and in magazines another 85 87 million. That means we have got enough of somebody who is ready to listen to the media, and which has to be taken care very carefully. In that broadcast, again, there are facts and figures which we should say. There are private channels itself are 918, because we only see the popular channels. There are so many which are not so popular, but still they are doing, and still they are active in some, very core places. FM radios. I mean, there are too many out there. Okay. And Indian market size is almost 5 billion in terms of the print media, and 16 billion in terms of the broadcast media, which is all reasonably good and very big numbers for a country of India's size. Is India is big, but India's spending capacity. So when I said this also gets multiplied 10 times, you can say that 5 billion becomes almost 50 billion. 16 billion becomes multiplied with 100 million. So 100 billion. So that's the type of multiplication and reach the media has got. So the journalists and others have to note that whatever they say is to be seen. And something he said during introduction about the secure governance. Secure governance is the one which says how there can be value valuation and how the progress of the country can be self-defined. It is going on in bits and pieces. In secure governance, we have put it in this way, and which will have a different impact for media. Because today we should also know why the media is whatever it is. Media is whatever it is because it also needs to survey on TRP. And general feeling is for TRP to be high, yes, I have to give a negative news. Negative does not mean negative in negative sense. Negative means something which is, blasting news, which is today's, this thing which may or may not be tomorrow. So in secure governance, what will happen? Once the development takes place, like he rightly said, when an advanced country is doing something, automatically many things are pruned down. So same way, if we strive to be a developed world, then many things on media also will stand corrected because they will get enough TRP, they will have 10 other ways in which their revenues will come. Now, revenue models, that's what can be rethought. This only the logo, this expectancy. This is only to give some idea from the published document. So we have to reimagine the creative of the workforce, because today media is also, any other media person who is in touch with us, they say, oh, media is again down. So why should it be down? It has to go because it is needed. For in democracy, media plays a very core role, because it is not a dictatorship where a Chinese Z says me, that's what the media has to write. India is not like that, and India will never be like that. So media has to survive and has to expand. So for that to do, it needs a little fine tuning. So we are saying how to reboot media that was already required for reincarnation of the economy. So with that, I will stop this one. Now let me introduce my enlightened speaker. I will start with Vikas. Vikas is a very enlightened writer. He is also a journalist of repute. He has had almost 2 decades of work with Indian multinational and whatever he specializes in power. He specializes in high technology. Anything new coming, he'll be one of the first person to write, and he has created a niche for himself. And I would like him to start by first talking a little about himself, and then about today's scenario, the way media is going on, and later what would be his suggestion for media to expand, media to play a more proactive role, media to ensure that it becomes one of the reasons for India's reincarnation, which is what I would request him in the second half of the talk. Initially, start with yourself, Vikasji. Please start.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Shekhar, for giving me this opportunity to be here. And to say that it was a planned journey for me to be a journalist, so I would say no, it wasn't a planned venture for myself. I was in my native town in Gorakhpur when I was attending to my father who was not well. And at that time, I saw Hindustan Times office which was open there. So I approached the bureau chief over there. I was preparing for a civil services exam at that time, and I realized that having accumulated so much of information, I think I have the skill set to basically, approach the mediums or the platforms available through media and present myself to the people, and whatever information or accumulation that I have done of the knowledge by preparing for this civil services exam. And I realized that this medium gave me the power and the freedom to basically work with people, which otherwise I wanted to do through civil services or as part of the administrative setup. So I approached the bureau chief in Hindustan Times, and he said, yes, because if you have the flair for writing and if you want to work for a media, so you write something, give it to us. I will write it to my resident editor. And if he's willing, we can take it forward. So I wrote something on the IT Act 2000 at that time. And he really was impressed by what I had written. And he said, yes, because you can come and join us. And from there, my career started in journalism, and it was a long and a very healthy journey for last 20 years now. Mostly, I have been a corporate reporter. I worked with after Hindustan Times. I did a 1 year diploma course in journalism where I thought this can help me to grow in my career. So I joined XIC, which was Xavier's Institute of Communication, and from there, my career took off. I have been working in Mumbai since then, and most of the most of the time I worked with news agencies, mostly UNI, which is United News of India, the Thomson Financial, which later on became Thomson Reuters, and Cogences, which was part of the Newswire 18, CNBC TV 18. And from there, I have done a 7 year stint with Deccan Chronicle, which was basically the financial chronicle, the business paper of Deccan Chronicle. And last 3.5, 4 years, I'm working with Financial Express, which is part of the Indian Express group. So it's been a very healthy and very fruitful journey for me as a journalist. And I would like to continue working as a journalist in my core beats or sectors that I cover, like power, oil and gas, and infrastructure, where I've done a lot of good features and breaking stories which were liked by the industry. And I would like to continue as and when required the good stuff or the work that I am doing. So basically, as far as today's topic is concerned, should I continue on the
Yes,
topic
yes,
or
please
would you like to
continue.
tell?
Please continue.
Yeah, so as far as the role of journalists is concerned or the media is concerned towards national reincarnation, especially when the emergency situation like today's is concerned, when not a single sector or industry is not affected, I would like to plan my discussion under three brackets, like social, political, and economical, under which the media or the editorial department is compelled to work which kind of affects or forces the media to be or to act the way it does. Because a lot of people are talking about the hype that is being created around COVID-related deaths, COVID-related information that's being circulated all around, and even the broadcast media and print media writing about it. So now there is a discussion or there is a feeling that there's a lot of frightening that's being created by the media platforms, whether it should happen, should not happen. So what should be the way forward? So to understand that, I think we need to understand how the media operates and what is the reason behind the way they work. And so it needs to be divided into three platforms, three categories, that is social, political, and economical. So when we talk about social platforms or social reasons under which the media operates, we need to take into mind that most of these media platforms or media setups are people to people driven. I mean, none of the editorial team can work without their contacts. So from collating information to, say, from discovery of information to collation of information, and finally presentation or execution of the information, it all comes through their contacts or from people through which they have to be continuously be in touch with. So I'm not saying that none of the organizations are people to people driven. They all are. For a media organization, I think contact is the primary source through which it operates. So after securing the information, the next big thing that is important for them is the execution or the presentation. So this execution and presentation, it's only a verification of the information that we can do it. So unless the information is verified, cross-checked, and like it's factually correct. So unless it is a single source information that is coming from a horse's mouth, we cannot publish that information. I am talking about this social structure or the milieu is because these are the things that develop a story or the news article or the feature articles that are written. So there are situations when most of the people are trying to plug in or give their information on a motivated basis. So we have to be very careful in these situations whether to run these information or not to run the information. So there is a big challenge for the reporters also whether to carry the information without checking it or as in without the cross verification, or they should do the cross verification. What happens is that if you do the cross verification, there is a lot of risk involved into that because there is a risk of getting the information leaked. What happens is that in this 24/7 kind of news environment where competition is very stiff, people do not want to lose their information that they have gathered. So this exclusivity is maintained only after you have verified the information and you don't want to lose it. So most of the media outlets will agree with me, or they would also subscribe to the fact that cross verification of the information leads to the leaking of the information and that exclusivity is lost. So many of these people are forced to run these news articles or information without getting it cross checked or verified. So this is one problem that most of these organizations are facing. But then what happens because of that? What happens is that it leads to a lot of repercussions. There can be various repercussions, political repercussions, like we observed what happened after the CAA protests, because people had said that whatever that government wanted to say was not clearly delineated through these WhatsApp messages or through other messages that were circulated. So a lot of shying back kind of incidents happened. And even in today's scenario, we can see that a lot of doctors who had gone for sample collections and all, they had to face the protest from the public at large. And the reason for that was that a lot of false and fabricated messages were circulated saying that the people who are coming to collect the samples are also the ones who are spreading the virus. So we have to whether to do this kind of cross checks or verifications or not to do this. This is a fine balance that most of these establishments have to tread, and it's up to the top management and the editorial management who either does it or they don't do it. So it's you sail through or you drown together, in these situations. Then there are a lot of economic factors also under which a lot of these media establishments are working. So to say that this COVID has only affected large business organizations, no. So there are a lot of these media outlets also who have been affected because of this lack of advertisements. People who have been there is a lot of drop in circulations also in cities like Mumbai. None of these newspapers or magazines are getting circulated because uh, these societies or the welfare housing societies who are not allowing their these vendors to come and circulate the newspapers. So the advertisements have been cut down. So these establishments are also working under these stress or the financial stress that they are facing. So there has been a lot of staff who have been laid off even in media outlets. So most of these people are have to on the one hand they have to look after the exclusivity of the stories and operate on a 24/7 basis, and on the other hand there is this short staff and the stress under which they have to work. So this is the economic fallout of this COVID like situation. And third is the political bracket that I would put into, under which most of these people have to operate in. These policies, regulations, laws, say modern medical bulletins which are coming out from the government, they are all at the government level. So their distortion of the facts cannot happen. They have to be presented as it is. So wherever that distortion happens, the political fallouts are also there. So these are the three major brackets under which media organizations or the establishments are working. Now we have to come. So if we have to say that we have to come out of it, so what are the ways in which we can do it? So that I think we can talk later as after the other speaker has spoken, for the solutions that we can do.
So also one good thing which I want to tell was, even when I talked about secured governance, Vikas was the first one to publish it. Okay, when it was really in a raw form, right? He said, "This is very good." Then he talked to few people, he understood the whole thing. Then he was the first person to publish it way back in 2013 or 14, in that range. Okay, so he is one of those who is enlightened journalist. Now, today, I would like maybe Akram himself to, he is also a media person. He has been associated with Fiki, even though he's the editor of this. Maybe today he himself, as a media person, give his views, and also about Policy Times views on how he's planning, some, because he has taken a perpendicular show to what a general media may like to do. He's taking a development journalism, which is something which is generally unheard of. Okay, they say that, okay, what is development journalism? Why should we come in picture? Akram, if you can maybe enlighten.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shekhar, and thank you so much for being part of the Policy Times journey to promote developmental journalism. It's quite actually difficult when you are a guest in your own show, your own channel, but it's a topic that is very close to my heart. I never so did I dream to be a journalist? Did I really seek to be a journalist? So I came from, I think, one of the remotest village of India, in the farthest corner called Dakshin Dinajpur, and it's like 1 kilometer away. You reach to Bangladesh. From there, coming to Delhi was a long journey, and then BBA and MBA education gave me an understanding about what is going on in the business, in society, in the economics front, or economy front. So after watching all the news and stories, reading all the stories, and then it was like weapon of mass destruction attack on Saddam Hussein in Iraq. So first destruction of a civilized society. Then I saw that who is doing it and who is the real culprit behind the real transition in the world that take place. A civilization fall, another civilization rise. how does this take place? Then I felt that, okay, there is a huge, there are many things which we can see in open eyes. There are many things which we don't see in open eyes, but they both exist and they both contribute and run things the way they do and they believe. So it's a planned system. So I thought that media needs to play a much more constructive role than what kind of role it is playing now. So media is like AK-47. So you can use it to kill a terrorist. You can use it to kill a common man. It is under whose hand that weapon is defines how media becomes constructive or destructive for a society. What is the purpose of human to come in existence? So first, actually, we need to ask this, and there are a lot of things I have. I don't know where should I start and where should I go, where should I end. So I started my career as a journalist in a quite a reputed firm based in Delhi after my MBA. So after my MBA, when I had a choice to where to go, I decided to go into journalism. I thought that this is a profession perhaps will give me some voice to speak and what I really want to speak. So that was the first step. I started writing. When I started writing, I preferred developmental journalism over any topic because I had the free hand to write on anything. Many people preferred political journalism. Many people preferred business journalism. Many people preferred different things. But my core interest remained on writing issues like policy issues, developmental issues, international foreign affair issues. These were the issues I always liked, and I started writing. There were a lot of credits and achievements during the career. Then I started teaching in a management college in the Department of Economics. It gave me another amazing experience to experience life. Then I worked with India's largest industry associations like FICCI and CII. So while working with them, organizing different events for even our prime minister and many ministers, also taking a lot of delegations abroad, also with you, Dr. Shekhar, we took delegations to different countries. This gave me different experience and exposure. But the question was same that am I happy and what else should I do to make India a better nation? Because my objective was never to earn money. Earning money was very basic need that we have to do to survive in the country. But I always wanted to do something that contributes positively in a nation. Then again, I realized that it has to be media. But media in a complete different shape, a combination of a think tank, business chamber association, and media. So when we club all these three activities together, I think that can be an organization which will be very influential to make a progressive step and support to the nation. So that's how Politicity Times came into existence. And the name itself suggests that what we really focus and what we really believe in. And I'm really proud since last 3 years we have been able to do that. Now, coming to the very basic point, why do we need media? And how this media came into existence. So actually there are a lot of points, but I don't know, but human right, we are human and we have our rights. We have our rights to live. We have our rights to breathe. We have our rights to speak. We have our rights to love someone. We have our rights to hate someone. We have our rights to everything. Now, someone will have to ensure. Unfortunately, while we all are human, we don't have equal power. Our powers are, we as men, we may be physically strong. Women may have other strengths, but we are not equal. Believing that we are equal will be a mistake. But we all have our rights of existence. Who will ensure that? Civilizations suffered a lot. Now, in a society, someone is powerful, someone is not. And then the powerful man will exploit the weaker one. When that is there, there has to be a check and balance in a system. So whether it is a feudal society, there are a lot of exploitations in the feudal society. I mean, the first kind of civilized society was feudal ones. And then when there was rise of communism or socialism, there were equal amount of exploitations, injustice, and a lot of other negative words we can associate with. The rise of democracy gave the rise of the concept called journalism. So journalism was immersed. I don't know whether naturally or by active involvement of some thinkers and experts, but journalism rose as a check and balance pillar on democracy to provide political and civil rights to people. That's how journalism emerged. And no democracy is complete and pure unless it has a vibrant media. Without having a proper, unbiased, vibrant media, a democracy is not complete. Now, these all are dynamic process. There is no, so we think we always talk the ideal situation, but normally we never achieve ideal situation. Neither communism has ever achieved ideal situation, or socialism has done so. Similarly, no democracy is ideal. That's why we will have never an ideal media situation. But then, in the dynamic process, there has to be an efforts or a series of efforts to improvise the system. The efforts will have to come from all stakeholders. So I just gave some macro picture actually, so that we understand the background. Now I will come to the very concept of India and how the concept of journalism or in India and we need to study. But before coming to India, then let us study the journalism across the world. Russia, maybe the country which was USSR before the split of USSR, the role of media was completely different in USSR. Even in Russia today, media are there, media houses are there, they are running pretty good. Russia today is one of the largest global media. But the role of media, the same media channel, when they cover or a story on Russia within or by that media house, the coverage is different. But when they cover issues, the global issues, then their coverage is different. There are many other media houses within Russia, but the role of media is very different. We come to America, the other extreme model. It's a complete capitalist and democratic model. So there, the role of media is different. The structure of media is very different. Coming to China, China also has brilliant, one of the largest and biggest media houses of the world. But again, their role is different. And they are playing different roles. The government is playing different role in the media. In all different countries, governments have active role in media functioning. But we need to understand what role they play and which way. Coming to India. So before independence, the role of media was pretty clear that we sought independence from the British. So all media houses which emerged as freedom fighters or by many freedom fighters to bring independence in the country. When we achieved that, post-independence, there was a little confusion or lack of direction as to where are we heading now? What is our role now? We wanted independence, we got it. Now, in such a case, there are two communities which emerged vibrantly to take control of the media. Because in democracy, media will be there. And these two communities were politicians and big business houses. So either the politicians by their sons or daughters or relatives, they started owning media houses, or by the big businessmen who are directly, indirectly supported by the big politicians. The same story is in America or any democratic setup, because that's how media has always been. Now, as time progressed, under the pressure of viewership and all, like you need a lot of attention by people, people should read you, you should be the number one in the market, and you should be the first one to do the coverage of any issue. So when under this background and pressure, but the foundation remains same, that which political party will have better control over media and how. So this remained this picture. So even today, media houses are more or less little confused as to how to define what kind of role they are going to play. And that is where we felt that we need to. So Indian Express has been doing a wonderful job in the country. NDTV is doing a wonderful job in terms of bringing content that is needed for the country. But their business components are much better than their normal social components, because the moment they talk about the social components, then it becomes biased. But the moment they talk about the economic content or maybe the business content or this content, it is completely unbiased and towards the growth and progress of the country. So I think I found a pretty about that. Now, the point that I want to come that the very basic struggle for rights and a civilized society and a vibrant democracy, the struggle continues, and media will continue need to fight this. Now there are 4 or 5 things that I will now mention here when we have this journey. So our end journey is to make Indian democracy one of the vibrant and India as one of the most advanced, progressive, and democratic country. If we want to achieve that, number one point comes is the sourcing or financing of media houses, because no media house can ensure, you know, secularism of its content and unbiased progress of the media house without securing the source of financing of the media house. First thing that the owners of media house or anything, any like the main stakeholders of the media house should think, what should be the alternative route of financing other than political funding and maybe big corporate house funding, because big corporate house and politicians are not always in favor of the very common civilized rights of the country. So not necessarily this is a truth, this is an assumption. Now, in such a context, I think the media houses will have to keep alternative sourcing alternative finance of money. That is one. Secondly, there has to be a barrier as to they have to decide that what is the sense, responsibility, accountability, and sensitiveness. You know, we need to define that in a democracy, when we really want to do a check and balance in a democracy, want to give rights, then we need to be sensible in the kind of content that we develop. We need to be accountable of the content that we are writing. If we are not accountable, then perhaps we are doing an injustice in that. The third often mistake that we often make, and I believe this, so if I am the founder, editor, or a owner of a media house, I do not necessarily need to have a high expensive car or a lavish office and some, you know, a competition with a big corporate giant or an entrepreneur. The moment my ambition of running a media house becomes, I want to own a Mercedes or I want to own a $1 billion industry or like an empire or something, we start compromising on our ethics. So an honest man in the religion that we believe in Islam, I don't know whether religion says or not, but when I try to connect it, a honest Muslim can never be a rich one or a poor one or a deprived one or a one. Why? Because he will always have a sense of responsibility and accountability in the actions that he's going to take. If that is so, you cannot be filthy rich if you are really socially responsible in a nation. So that's why the often mistake that most of the media owners have made, you know, the moment they are the owner, they started becoming celebrity and they started competing with big business houses. The same thing happened with the Bollywood stars. The Bollywood stars, the role of, you know, film was also to educate the society through films and cinemas. Now they also fell into the race of being billionaires and millionaires. In that race, we started forgetting the core objective of this industry that we are working or sector we are working and started compromising the very basic principles of our existence. So we need to bring back the concept of accountability, sensitivity, and responsibleness in the process. Third, couple of things that I want to say. The business model or the media's model have also changed. Models have also changed time to time. Earlier, the model was print. It came the later on. It came satellite. It became satellite. Now, the complete disruption that we experience almost in every sphere of life, including media, is also with the rise of social media and digital media. So this disruption will again change the business model. But this has also brought a lot of positive things, a lot of like every innovation or every change or disruption that we will see in the society will have some positives and some negatives. What we as a society needs to take is the positive thing of it and promote it. So this also gave the rise of fake news. Everyone wants to be the first, and the digital media has destroyed the media's power of being the first. Now, because anything happens, it becomes viral in social media much ahead than by any media houses. When that became a challenge for them, they started becoming oversensitive on the issues. Over hype, creating hype or overhype or sensitization of issues has also made us irresponsible, unaccountable in the process. And we need to be very careful about being sensitive. To what extent should we be sensitive? And we should be careful in that. Fake news is a big challenge for the society now, because now the value of content is no longer there. Earlier, when we used to write 500 words article, it used to carry a lot of value. When we used to show this to someone, they used to respect us for writing a 500 or 1000 words article, and we used to put a lot of efforts. Today, creating a content is so easy because a robot in the technology can be created. So content will have no value. Millions, in fact, billions of contents are floating in the digital space. If that is so, we need to identify which content is right, which content is wrong. And then there has to be a mechanism at the government level, at the corporate level, at the individual level to verify the content and check the content that is floating in the world. Otherwise, the rise of social or digital media, which gave so much of voice to individuals' mouth or at individuals' level, will also become our weakness as a society if we don't keep a check and balance. Google, Facebook, Twitter, all are struggling to find a solution. They are encouraging a lot of fake news busters in the world, but the government's active involvement in fighting this remains a very dubious thing, because the government's political mileage through the fake news thing remains a very prominent part in the electoral process. So we need extreme and, and serious action from the policymakers, from the government, as to fight fake news, and there should be equal amount of punishment for unjust, unbiased fake news fighting. It should not be a political. The last thing I want to say, maybe there are a lot of other things, but I think we should stick to the time. And the third thing that I want to say is the media is a reflection of the society. It is vice versa. They are like mirror. If your face is ugly, media shows you the real face that you have. If your face is beautiful, media will show you your face as beautiful, because the journalists or the people who work in the media house come from you only. Similarly, the politicians, if the politicians are ugly, which means the society is also ugly. If the politicians are good, which also means the society is good. So what media shows you is actually a reflection of your mindset. Hence, it is very serious, actually, part on our behalf to see that if you see like sensitive content or content which you don't see that it deserves a media space, you need to realize that perhaps this is the ugly mind that you also carry with yourself, and we need to change there. And if we change there, media will stop selling you those content. Media sells you those what you want to see. You stop seeing those, media will not sell you that. You start seeking news that will take the country forward, media will sell you that. Media, so that's what we need to realize. And Policy Times has taken a very firm stand on this, that we don't care whether you watch us or not, but we will keep on educating you, keep on providing you content or discussing with you issues that will take the country forward. That is our motto, and we will always be with you to take this journey forward and to make. So our journey is, as long as we see India an advanced and developed country, our struggle and fight will continue. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. Over to you.
Yeah. So this is Professor Akram. Okay. Today we give the degree of Professor Akram. Very nice way presented, and good that it enlightens many people. And I'm sure that you may also want to tell people what is it that Policy Times is for, and what is it that you would like to see. People generally are afraid of talking of development journalism. You are the only brave person who is ready to talk about it. And to come to the second phase of our Vikram's or Vikas talk, he is also a positive journalist, because I know him for last maybe about, I don't know, 8 9 years, and never I have seen him write thing just to have a TRP on his side. Yes, if it's negative, he'll write negative. He will not write TRP just for TRP the negativity, because it is negative. Like you rightly said, that is a reflection of our mind. If I'm not doing well, I should not say that a journalist is writing because he wants TRP because I'm not doing well. So either right, you're not doing well. So they cannot say if the riot is taking place. No, no, no. It is actually people are going for a julus and people are hugging each other. Yes, riot is taking place. Only thing which can always be properly rationed is, if my writing is going to exaggerate things to the negative side, maybe I can write it in a diluted way. One small wrong statement can give a huge. That's what you rightly pointed out today. Fake news. Fake news is so dirty, and many times it is so illogical. You just do not know what is it that somebody is achieving. It is just again a blind face. It is nobody is gaining out of it. So I would like our Vikas to the second phase, taught enlighten us on how you feel post COVID, and the way things are going down. And you are also in Financial Express, which is a medium for economic growth. How would you see the world and India, and how would you yourself try to justify how things should go forward? Vikas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before I go forward, I would also like to know from Akram what he also spoke about, how the media houses should not just depend on political and corporate funding. They should also look for alternative funding. So, what could be those alternative funding if we can suggest some of those points? Because if we look around, most of these media houses are owned by top business houses. Look at Reliance owning CNBC and other Newswire 18 and other TV 18 group entirely, and other South Indian broadcast channels, and look at Z News, which is being held by a top media house as a businessman. So, what could be those alternative funding methods that they can look at? As far as solutions for media houses in this post national reincarnation, I would say it's a learning process for everyone because of the epic of this size was never ever seen before, which has affected every sector of the industry. Most of these media houses are also learning from it. And if compare the broadcast media and the print media from the initial months, if we see, most of these broadcast medias were focusing on COVID, and entirely day in, day out, what we were listening or what we were seeing was on COVID related information or news that was delineated. So was the case with the print media also. But off late, I mean, as far as reporting for our print media is concerned, we have to, and especially if it's a business newspaper, we also have to focus on other industries and other sectors, because it's mostly about shareholders' profit and shareholders' growth that most of these companies look at, and their profitability, which got affected during this period. But one good thing that came out of it is that most of these media houses, most of these business houses, they they didn't shirk their responsibility during this period. I mean, if we see an auto company which immediately transformed into manufacturing a lot of sanitizers, masks, N95 masks, and giving out their spaces for setting up beds for hospitals. So all these things happened during this phase. I mean, people had been learning, and even media houses to that extent have learned from that. And going ahead, I mean, if we see our print newspapers, we are writing more on other industries instead of just focusing on COVID-related cases. Maybe front page, there would be a one or two stories that we write, and inside pages, we cover it with local and regional developments on COVID, maybe one or two newses. Similarly, if we see now the broadcast media has also shifted its entire focus to Sushant Singh Rajput. I mean, it's more of they also have to worry about their TRPs and how to capture the market. So they are doing that also. So it's not just COVID related thing that most of these people are focusing, or the media houses are focusing, but post this COVID, once the office is open, because right now a lot of people are working from home, and they have limited, access to the information, limited access to the people to people contact. So I think once they will meet and they will hold maybe sessions learned from whatever happened during COVID. They will also come out with a lot of lessons learned, and maybe change according their perception and their perspectives. A lot of technology driven, maybe uh, structural changes may happen in the organizations going ahead. Focus on artificial intelligence, as you also said in your presentation, the chatbots and other usage of webcams, instead of focusing on, say, late night episodes and all. Maybe there can be some changes that people will come out with. So I think that is what I believe. It's a learning process even for media houses, and it's not also a frightening situation outside. Once the relaxation in the economy will happen, once the people will start moving out, the whatever scared that people are, I think that will also frizzle out with time.
Thank you, Vikas. Now, you asked a relevant question in terms of, you asked to Akram. I will probably reply, and I'll also ask Akram to reply in the few minutes' time. Now, our friend Nirmal has come.
Yeah, finally, sir. Nirmal, sir, could join.
Nirmalji, you could join. We can hear you.
So you have to reconnect your audio once,
Audio.
because your video is connected. Try to connect your audio.
Nirmalji, you can hear us?
He will hear us, but he won't. We can't hear him because his audio is not connected.
Yeah, I think there was some call from outside, so I could not. There was a call on by my side, so I could not listen to you.
Okay. No, no. Nirmal has come. He has just joined, but he's not able to talk. Can you talk, Nirmalji?
Sir, can you reconnect your audio? Nirmal sir, try to reconnect your audio. You can only speak. Now you are doing it. Good.
Yeah.
But don't switch off your video. Continue your video. Yeah. Now you can speak.
Yeah, is it visible? Yeah.
You can hear?
Video is stopped.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
He can
Now,
see you and even can speak.
let me do the job of slightly introducing you. We have had an excellent talk from Vikas. He being a hardcore journalist, concentrating on technology fields, power sector, and so on and so forth. And then Akram did the honor of being talking of what is his perception and what is the way should go ahead. What is it? Something called positive journalism. What is called developmental journalism. He did have a
So I cannot hear you. Can you hear me? I mean, your
Yeah, we
voice
can
is
hear
not
you.
audible.
We can hear you.
we can hear. Some call came. No, you may have to restart the mobile. If any call has come, there's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nirmal,
now,
you can hear, no?
Nirmal
yeah,
sir,
now I can.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. So let me introduce Nirmal. Now, Nirmal is a journalist again of more than 2 decades, and he has been associated with. He studied his MPhil from Delhi University, coincidentally, and he has been a journalist with Times Group, DNA, Midday, and so on and so forth. And he has been concentrating at the time more on crime and entertainment. Okay. Now the boost to his life has come because one of the most popular movie, which is called Page 3, was made on his life by Mr. Manjrekar, and he is indirectly the script writer, not exactly script writer. He's a person who facilitated the script, telling his life story, and that is his prime of his career. And of course, he continues to do similar work. And based on that, maybe I would request him to talk a little about himself. And since the time is short, more about what the journalists, what the media should do as we go forward. Nirmalji.
But you have to unmute, sir, first. So I am giving the command. Can you unmute yourself, Nirmal sir? You will get something on your screen to unmute yourself. You will get an instruction on your screen to unmute yourself.
You have to unmute. Yeah.
Sorry, you did. I muted you again. Kindly unmute yourself again.
Yeah, now it.
But I'm not getting the video. Can I speak?
Yeah, you can speak. We can see you. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Shekhar and Mr. Srivastav and Mr. Akram. And you have already introduced me, so I don't think I should not spend time in introducing myself. So you have told a lot of things. As far as journalism is concerned, I think post the COVID period is still on, and journalism, of course, it has changed over a period of time. Earlier, the print journalism was supreme, and then came the and I was introduced to journalism when print journalism was supreme, and then came different channels. So it was a cutthroat competition between the channels and the print media. And afterwards, the digital media is ruling the roost now. So it has become very popular particularly with the youngsters now, because I think youngsters mostly are kind of restless, so they don't want to sit for a longer time to read a essay type of story or something like that. So they want crispy and to the point news. And so digital media, I think, is popular in now mostly among the younger generation, and it keeps changing. I think because of this coronavirus thing, uh, print media reporting has become a little more challenging also, because you have to not only have to take precautions to cover the stories, and a lot of developmental stories, or a lot of things have come to not exactly standstill, but has become a little slow. So the variety of stories the media was getting earlier has become less now. And I think most of the, though I don't much agree with the breaking news kind of stories, where a lot of things which are not worth breaking news are mentioned as breaking news. But a lot in the electronic media are also doing a good job, and print media is becoming a little more slow, because a lot of things are broken by the channels, because a lot of stories are developing stories, and once the in print media, once the story goes to the print, so it is very difficult to get the latest stories. So that's why but print media has its own value and charm. So in the morning you cannot avoid just maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes you want to see the newspaper. So newspaper will always be there. It is like you can say once upon a time it was a superstar, but it is still a star, but not a superstar. It is a star, not like earlier. But channels and digital media are more popular, and I think more readers, more viewers also, and for channels now. And now entertainment stories are very less, because the TV industry, film industry, and a lot of even advertisement world also. So a lot of shootings are not happening because of COVID restrictions, and so that's why the entertainment reporting is not very much there. So the other thing is political stories are there, like you see the development in Rajasthan, their development in Madhya Pradesh, their development in some other states. So they are getting a coverage. Then the coverage came Sushant Singh Rajput's alleged suicide has also got into a lot of news also, and because people are the channels are also showing what people are liking to see, because if people don't like, so automatically the story will also fade away. So what the channels are doing, even now also entertainment stories are coming, but it's very less. The stories are coming which are more popular, like popular in the sense that somebody is a one is a popular star like Amitabh Bachchan. He is admitted into Nanavati hospital. That made huge news. A lot of people are also admitted to hospitals that may not be getting that much coverage because Amitabh Bachchan was a mega star. Even Sushant Singh Rajput's case, because of the controversies around the news, so the story has been picked up by the channels, newspapers, a lot of other media mediums like websites. So the change of it depends on the story value. So the journalists will always pick up the stories which have story values and which are liked by the people. At least people see it, read it, and if it is a good story, that then there will be a follow up of it. If there is a good story, people don't like it, so automatically the story will also fade away. However effort you might put and how much pressure one might build up. So it depends on the journalists also. I think journalists are also changed, but I think with print media there was a lot of hard work going on. We were doing a lot of leg works. If there is a particular crime scene, supposing an encounter happens, or supposing an accident happens, a blast happened. So we used to have to rush to the place and report from the place. Now it is a different ball game altogether. And in my opinion, though there are a lot of channels now, a lot of things are digital things, and I think now everybody has become a journalist. If you have an opinion, you are posting it on Facebook, or you are putting on the YouTube or something like that. Which earlier you were depending on certain individuals, like Khalid Mohammed was a film critic. So a lot of people are waiting for Khalid Mohammed to write in the Times of India what is the review on the particular movie. Now I can air my review. You can also do that, and people still read. Acha, oh, this person also doesn't like this movie or likes this one. So it also a little bit of, I think, in the back of mind, certain people are also being impacted by certain things like this. And moreover, and the good thing is that, but one should not take advantage of it. One should not make it a license. Like a lot of the digital things, some people write like anything. You should be very careful in not commenting on religious matters, no communal matters, and because you don't have to. As I told you, now freedom is not license. It should be used properly and responsibly. And if we have to write something, we should see its repercussions also. If it is a controversial subject, you should know what you should write. You cannot write anything which is illegal. So we have to respect law. We have to respect each community, each religion, each language. Then healthy discussion nobody minds. And I don't want anybody fighting on this whether somebody is supporting Modi, somebody is not supporting Mr. Modi. It's not like there is a war going on among ourselves in the country. We should be very responsible while commenting on social media, because social media has become so powerful now. And as I told you, in social media, a lot of people have become journalists, kind of journalists. It's not paid, but they're like journalists. So what you write, even if you are commenting on something, and making some allegations also, you should not make an allegation, because that's not our job. And basically, what I feel, the media is also changing. Media is adjusting to the situations, like in COVID-19. They adjusted to the situation. They took a lot of precautions. In Mumbai also, few people were having these symptoms of this coronavirus. But I think everybody got a clean sheet afterwards. Anyway, the people are trying, and I think Mr. Srivastav, he is a very senior guy, senior person in this field, so he might have observed a changing scenario of media field now. But I think there's a good sign. People have become more responsible, and the government has also become more responsible, because they know if something they do wrong, and a lot of channels are there, they're picking up the things and showing it to the public. So the I think uh, uh, government people and a lot of people, they have should have a kind of silent harmony, even if they don't like, we don't meet each other, but we can, we connect somehow. Social media has connected a lot of people in a different way. So there is a good time coming, and the only thing is that because of Corona, a lot of people, a lot of journalists are, a lot of journalists and administrative people in the media houses are losing their jobs. They have got notices, and that is a very sad part, because I don't think government is having some plan for them. And the media houses, even the top media houses also, I think some of them, at least some of them have uh, terminated the services of a lot of journalists and whatever I have heard, I have to recheck, and the other officials also, because the revenue has become very tight. The earlier they're running through advertisement, a lot of things, because of Corona thing. Coronavirus has stopped a lot of revenue scopes. So that is a sad part, but I hope the things should improve, and the government, particularly the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, they should come up with some policies how to save these people who are losing their jobs also, because it's part of their duty. And I hope there is a good time coming if we are all working together. In a lot of people, they are commenting and on developmental issues, and I think the government is also taking note of a lot of media reports which are true. If somebody is in trouble, if somebody has an issue, and even now also, as you might be knowing, if you are writing to the minister or PMO, a lot of people are getting responses. So it's a good thing, and I think media, the role is always there. Particularly the responsible media, there are certain people who are biased also, but I think that apart, the majority of the people, they're doing a good job. So there can be difference of opinion. The one channel might support someone, the another someone means some issue, another channel may not like that issue. So it goes on. So always the difference will be is always there, but it should be healthy, whatever. So that is kind of my observation.
Thank you, Nirmalji.
Yeah,
So, whatever we are concluding, of course, a slight small
but
reply to.
you can ask me certain one or two questions which might be in your mind, so I can be able to answer it, which
Yeah,
might
yeah.
interest the
So Vikas
viewers.
asked a question. I am trying to reply. So
Yes.
Vikas said that if media is today sort of somewhere politicized, somewhere biased because of the ownership. So he was
Hmm.
asking, how would we, remove this? Remove this means at least rationalize this. One of the slides which I had presented when I said about this word secured governance has the solution to that. In that, what is the basic solution is that there's a value creation. Media is also creating huge value. Today, media itself is not taking advantage of the valuation it creates. So once you put it on the ground, a media house is bubbling. A small media house is not to be bothered about this. In some of the medium and bigger ones, so if it takes a place and makes a complex around that place, okay, today media doesn't do that. Okay, then the complex itself goes into huge valuation as media becomes bigger and bigger. It is just like a movie. Once it has succeeded, it becomes a value. If it is zero, yes, it falls like a pack of cards. So when the value is high, people say, oh, that is the Indian Express complex, the Times of India complex. And that value should be captured to get an additional income. And this we have tried in education and healthcare. And in many places it is working well, started working well. It is not something which is gone for a long time, and on which even you had written an article, one education knowledge city. So it is a long way to go. Somewhere the media also should create this additional source of revenue by which it can have a sustain, because when income is not there, and like I said, when so many people are being removed, there has to be under in military there's a rule: if two people are there, one of them will be live, you kill the other man and eat him. This is what is supposed to be the rule of jungle rule in military regime. Same way, if the survival instinct comes, we cannot help anybody doing anything negative. But if we can avoid that by a pre-planning stage and create complexes of especially those large media coming in, it'll go into a very different valuation game and different survival. With that, maybe since the time is also running out, we will close today's thing. Thank you, Vikasji. Thank you, Nirmalji. At least Nirmalji came late, but he gave a good talk. And Akram can probably close the show.
Thank you, Dr. Shekhar, for sharing this show. And I'm really happy that Vikas ji and Nirmal ji shared a lot of views on content. You asked me one question, alternative, which Dr. Shekhar has already answered. So, The Guardian is one example where they believe in crowdfunding. So, they only take funding from public. So, actually, all media houses should ask money from public. That, okay, we are running it for you and you should give us fund. The first thing actually we should stop, but it is impossible. It is almost impossible. We should stop is no politicians and no businessman can own any media house. If you can do that, I think that can minimize something, but which is idealistic situation. So there's no point even discussing in it. The other thing that I think is possible is that so media can give you money. You take money for their sponsorship and all. It's fine from big business group. That is all. Achha, there is no quality check. The other big trouble that media house. So politicians and businessmen's money is just one trouble of the system. The other biggest trouble is anyone can be a journalist. There is no check and balance. There is no quality, benchmark in the industry. So anyone can be a journalist. Whether and most of the time, people who become journalists also often comes from a background which doesn't even qualify them to be a journalist. So this also creates a havoc problem in the society. So we thought that first we need to be idealistic human being to make any system. So the only problem is nothing is ideal. So communism is not bad if the people are good and make the system nice for the country and development. Socialism is not bad if the socialism is run by really nice people, good people, then the system becomes a success. So anything, when the human being is good, the system becomes a success. When human beings are bad, the system becomes bad. I want to give the example of Muslims only. So Islam is the best, one of the best religions of the world. So you all know, like as a religion cannot be bad. The religion is wonderful, but it is only because the people are bad, the Muslims are bad, the religion has got a very bad image in the market. So Jews, because Jews are good, their religion has a very good image of that. Or Christianity, because Christians are doing wonderfully economically well, or civilized society and all. The religion like Christianity is very well respected and all. So it is all that how human being or people that we live is also good in the system. So
I think I have lost people. I cannot hear.
So it is ending now.
We need to be good.
His last statement.
Yeah. So thank you. So we at Policy, I think, Dr. Shekhar, we have already concluded. And viewers, if you like the kind of discussion we do subscribe our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page, because we are committed to developmental journalism. We will bring to you people who are already a contributor in the society and whose knowledge will enrich your knowledge and
Dr. Shekhar,
better.
I think I've completely